this video is loaded with spoilers. So if you have not seen it, or you just don't care, then go ahead and watch, but I'm going to just talk about everything. Before I start, I have not read the comics. The Marvel Universe is so huge that I focus on only certain attributes when I read comics. So I read X-23, I read Runaways, I read Generation Hope. But the universe as a whole, Uncanny X-Men and all those things, I don't read. So I'm speaking only for the movies. So, I saw X-Men Days of Future Past, and I had built up so much excitement for it because everyone I talked to was like, oh my god, it's the best movie since Avengers, and it's amazing. And I was really happy because Bryan Singer was returning to the franchise. And of course he did 1 and 2. Then I saw it. The end scene, not the after credits scene, but when you see them rescue Wolverine out of the water, and you see Agent Stryker standing there, and then his eyes turn yellow and you realize it's Mystique, I lost it. The whole movie, I was like, oh, this is okay. But halfway through I started getting really bored, and it's like, okay, whatever. But that end scene did it for me. And then I got home, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized that movie sucked. And I'll tell you why. Okay, Bryan Singer, of course, did X-Men 1 and 2, which I loved 1. As a fan of the comics and a fan of the 90s cartoon, I was super excited for this. And it came out, and I was like, this is the best thing ever. And then the sequel came out, and I was happy with it. It wasn't my favorite, but I was happy with it because it's the second X-Men movie, and I was a kid, and I was like, this is awesome. And then we had the third one, which I don't know. And the poster is here. X-Men The Last Stand was a huge steaming pile of poo. They did a lot of things that I was not happy about, including a lot of character death for no reason. And then, of course, stupid things, like, let's take away Mystique's powers, and we'll also take away Magneto's powers, but at the end we'll have a little scene where he goes whoop, with the chess piece, and oh, he still has them. And then, I think it was the after credits scene, where you see Charles, after having died in the movie, because he blew up into confetti, you see him awaken in another body, which is like, what? And of course, what I think is funny is no one ever addressed that. He shows up again, back in a wheelchair, at the end of the Wolverine, with Magneto, and something along the lines of, we all have our secrets. What does that mean? Now, in thinking about this video is all out of order because my head is a... But, if you're going to tell me that scene at the end of the Wolverine with Magneto and Charles happened after Days of Future Past, which is why they're together, and they're both in this, well, he's in his body again, because none of these events ever occurred after Days of Future Past, then none of the Wolverine happened either, because at the end of Days of Future Past, you see Mystique is posing as Stryker. So that means that Stryker never did the experiments on Wolverine. So that goes to destroy the entire franchise that has already been built. Now, some people I've talked to have said that, well, you know, it needed to be destroyed so it can be redone. You know, it's better than just starting over like in Spider-Man with Garfield there. But in a sense, this is worse than just starting over. You had Tobey Maguire, and now you have, I can't remember his name, the new guy who's dating Emma Stone. Something Garfield. You totally started over from scratch with that. That's pretty much what you did in this. You had 7 movies. 7. X-Men, X-Men 2, X-Men United, X-Men 3 Last Stand, Wolverine Origins, First Class, The Wolverine, and then Days of Future Past. So 7 movies. You destroyed 5 of them. Because the only one that is still valid is Days of Future Past. I mean, not the only one that's still valid before that is First Class, because it took place before the events of Days of Future Past. The movie as a whole was alright. It still wasn't my favorite because it reminded me too much of The Last Stand, with having to see lots and lots of character death, and this time we got to see it twice. Because you had the opening scene where everybody dies, you get to see Bobby get beheaded and, everybody get blown up. And then in the second scene, we got to see Storm get stabbed, thrown off a cliff. We got to see Colossus be torn in half, which is like, really? And then we got to see Blink get impaled 3 different times, because, why not, with the motion, which is like, really? So we got to see all that carnage twice, which I'm not a big fan of carnage, so that was a waste of time. And also it reminded me of The Last Stand and the fact that let's just put lots of mutants in here with no backstory whatsoever. Just because their powers look cool, we'll just stick them in. I mean, you got Blink and Warpath, and I was excited to see both of them. And it really didn't matter because neither one of them served any function in the movie at all, besides the fact that they have unique powers and they fit the moment, so we'll just have her throwing portals and, just woo, who cares who they are? Oh, now they're dead. I'm so sorry to keep getting sidetracked. By putting that last scene in, I could deal with the whole movie, even though it reminded me a ton of The Last Stand and also of Terminator Salvation and also The Matrix with the giant robots coming and destroy everybody. In not doing the experiments to him, his whole storyline is completely screwed up. And I know at the end of the movie, he's the one that fixed the timeline, so he remembers everything. But still, that changes all of the history of the X-Men movies. Because the first one was based on Rogue runs away from home. She goes up to Canada and finds Wolverine. And of course, he doesn't really know who he is. He's in this cage match, blah, 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 blah. They end up in the RV together. They get attacked by Magneto's forces, rescued by Cyclops and Storm, and brought to the Xavier Institute. Now, the problem is, Wolverine would have never been up there because he wouldn't have forgot his memory because he never went through the adamantium experiments. So Rogue would have just gone up to Canada, continued roaming around, either accidentally killed a couple people with her powers, gotten killed herself being a mutant, who knows. Maybe she would have been found by Professor Xavier through Cerebro, I don't know. But, still, the whole battle in the first movie between Wolverine and Magneto was because Magneto was able to control Wolverine's metal. He was able to bend his claws the way he wanted to, he was able to use him as a flying object. None of that would have happened, and even if somehow Wolverine and Rogue had gotten together and he had rescued her or whatever, Wolverine would have won the fight against Magneto because Magneto would have had no control over him. So that whole movie is canceled. Also, too, Rogue's white streak in her hair is also canceled out because none of the crazy, I can't remember what it's called, the thing that Magneto built in order to give humans mutant powers, that never happened now because he never got his hands on Rogue. So Rogue would have never gotten her white streak, which shows at the end of the movie, at the end of Days of Future Past, you see Rogue and you see Bobby and they go off hand in hand. She has the white hair. Didn't happen. The second movie, of course, didn't happen because that was all about Wolverine going to investigate Alkali Lake and investigating Stryker and getting his memories back and all that jazz. Phoenix, of course, would have probably still happened because even, well, in the second movie, she's already having mental issues. So it still would have happened, but it wouldn't have happened to the magnitude that it did because she wouldn't have had to save the X-Jet from the broken dam at Alkali Lake because they wouldn't have been there anyway. So she would have had a meltdown somewhere else, but perhaps with Charles and the other mutants, and they could have controlled her and they could have helped her and she wouldn't have drowned to rise again as Crazy Pants in The Last Stand, in which she killed a lot of people and then got stabbed by Wolverine. None of that would have happened because, again, that whole timeline is erased. Granted, I hated The Last Stand. I hated it with a passion. and I needed it to be fixed. And I was really happy that Bryan Singer was coming back, because after directing the first two, I was really happy that he was going to come back to fix the franchise after abandoning it to go do Superman and leaving it in the hands of an idiot to do Last Stand. So when he came back for Days of Future Past, I had a lot of high hopes, and instead he just completely killed the franchise. The only movie that is still valid is this one because it happened prior to. Whether you like the movies or not, this is not how you fix a franchise. You do not come in and destroy the entire thing in order to start over. And my friend, his idea is, well, you need to destroy the franchise in order to make a good Deadpool movie. Granted, they destroyed Deadpool. I understand. But you do not kill all the other movies in order to make that one. It doesn't work that way. And I'm super pissed. I'm super pissed because the more I think about it, the more stupid Days of Future Past is. Whether you like the X-Men films or not, I mean, granted, I only really liked 2 out of 7. 2 out of 7 I really genuinely liked, and that was X-Men 1 and First Class. Because X-Men 1 was the first one, and First Class showed the build-up, it showed how they met, and I liked the mutants they had in it, and all of them had backstories, which apparently isn't necessary in Last Stand and Future Past. We don't need to know who these people are, where they came from, how they developed their powers. Screw that. It doesn't matter. Let's just watch them die over and over again. First Class showed you how Beast got his powers, which made a lot of sense through Mystique, being that why he turned blue. I thought it was really a cool connection. Banshee, Havoc. I enjoyed the mutants that they had in the movie, and they gave them a backstory. They gave them how to use their powers, where they came from, how they were put together. It was great. And Days of Future Past just took a massive steaming dump on everything. I'm going to stick to the Avengers franchise because so far, I don't include the Eric Bana movie, there has not been a turd in the Avengers franchise. They managed to make independent movies for everybody, including 2 for Iron Man, put them all together cohesively without any problems, and then take them apart again to make more individual movies like Winter Soldier, Iron Man 3, Thor: The Dark World. They took them apart and they're going to put them all back together again, and I know it's going to be just as cohesive because they know how to write. They know what they're doing with all the different directors and actors and producers and everything involved in this franchise. They have had no flaws so far. X-Men is a steaming train wreck. So please leave your comments below. I know this was a long rant and I'm sorry, but I would love to know what you guys think. Maybe you liked it, maybe you thought of something else that I missed. Maybe you can come up with something that connects them, that makes the original franchise still alive, which is impossible because Wolverine doesn't have any adamantium now. So everything's dumb. But, okay, I'm going to sign off now. Bye-bye.